A pale morning light moved across the wooden floors of an old mountain temple. Frost still clung to the stones outside, and the sound of a distant stream faintly echoed through the valley. Inside the hall, a lone samurai kneeled in silence. His name was Arashi. For many years, he had served his clan with steady discipline, yet his mind had recently grown crowded. His focus weakened. His sword felt heavier each day. He carried a heavy burden. A battle was approaching, and the slightest hesitation could mean death. He had trained his body. He had sharpened his blade, yet his thoughts wandered without restraint. He feared that he had lost something important, a part of him that once moved with clarity. The temple master watched him from the corner of the room. The old man had lived through many seasons of war and peace. His eyes remained calm, his breath never shifted. He saw the weight inside Arashi long before the samurai spoke. Arashi lowered his head. He admitted that his focus had grown thin. He could not control his thoughts. They rushed forward in every direction. They blurred his judgment and weakened his spirit. He asked the master how warriors of the past restored their clarity when the mind refused to obey. The master rose without a word and walked toward a wooden chest. He opened it slowly and removed a small bowl, a folded cloth, and a single stick of incense. He placed the items in front of Arashi and motioned for him to follow. They stepped out into the cold air, toward a quiet clearing behind the temple. Snow covered the ground. Pine trees lined the edges. Nothing moved. Arashi felt the silence press against his ears. The master told him that when warriors felt their minds scatter, they turned to a ritual hidden from many. Not because it was sacred in a strict sense, but because it demanded full presence. It was simple, yet powerful. It forced the samurai to return to the center of himself. The master knelt in the snow and placed the bowl before him. He poured water into it from a nearby spring. Steam rose into the cold air. He lifted the cloth and dipped it into the bowl. The fabric absorbed the warmth. Then he folded it again with careful precision. His movements were slow and exact. Nothing rushed. Each gesture carried intention. Arashi watched closely. The master placed the warm cloth on his own closed eyes and breathed deeply. He touched the incense to a small flame and let the smoke rise. The scent drifted through the air with gentle softness. He explained that this ritual was known among old warriors as the return. It existed to bring the mind back to a single point. The cloth invited stillness. The incense anchored the breath. The cold ground reminded the body of its connection to the earth. Together, they formed a simple practice that cleared the inner noise. After a few moments, the master removed the cloth and handed it to Arashi. He instructed him to repeat the steps. Arashi dipped the cloth, folded it, and pressed it gently against his eyes. Warmth spread across his face. The cold air sharpened his awareness. The smell of the incense grounded him. The rushing thoughts that had consumed him only minutes before began to fade. One by one, they dissolved into the quiet. His shoulders relaxed. His breath deepened. A sense of clarity returned. The master spoke in a low voice. He said that a focused mind cannot be forced. It can only be guided. The ritual did not add anything new, simply removed what was unnecessary. Arashi remained still for a long time. He felt his strength return from within. When he opened his eyes, the world appeared clean again. He bowed to the master. For the first time in many months, he felt ready to face the path ahead. The ritual was not a secret of magic. It was a reminder, a doorway back into presence. Even now, centuries later, the lesson remains. In modern life, the world moves quickly. Tasks compete for attention. Devices pull the mind in countless directions. People lose clarity, not because they lack ability, but because their attention becomes scattered. The experience Arashi faced still lives inside many today. A wandering mind, a restless spirit, a feeling of disconnection from purpose. The old samurai understood that focus depends on the ability to return to the center at any moment. The ritual itself reflected a deeper principle in Japanese thought, a principle known as Mushin, the mind without distraction. Mushin does not mean emptiness in a hollow sense. It means the absence of noise that blocks clear action. It is a state where the mind moves freely because it is not held by tension or fear. Mushin guided warriors in battle, craftsmen at their work, and monks in meditation. It teaches that focus comes not from tightening the mind, but from releasing what pulls it away. When you let go of the excess, your attention becomes sharp, your decisions become clean. Your actions follow without hesitation. This principle carries several teachings that can guide the modern mind toward greater clarity. Each teaching reflects a simple truth that can be applied in daily life. One teaching is the practice of removing one distraction before doing a task. Instead of trying to silence everything at once, you take away a single source of noise. This could be a notification, an unnecessary tab, or a background worry. When you remove one distraction, you weaken the entire chain. The mind gains space to settle. A software engineer named Riku used this idea during intense deadlines. Before writing code, he disabled all notifications on his laptop. He kept only one window open. His productivity increased because his attention no longer split into fragments. Another teaching is the idea of completing one small action with full presence, not multitasking, not rushing. You choose one movement and give it your full awareness. This trains the mind to return to the present moment. A designer named Hannah used this approach when starting her morning. She made her tea slowly, moving her hands with intention. The calm rhythm set the tone for her entire day. Her focus improved because she trained her mind to stay grounded. A third teaching is accepting the natural rhythm of the mind. Focus rises and falls. You cannot maintain perfect clarity at all times. When you resist this natural rhythm, tension builds. When you accept it, you can respond skillfully. A university student named Ken learned this during exam season. Instead of forcing himself to study for hours without pause, he allowed short breaks between sessions. He used the breaks to breathe, stretch, or touch a cold surface. His concentration improved because he respected the limits of his attention. A fourth teaching is creating an external cue that signals the mind to reset. Samurai used cloth, smoke, or the sound of a bell. In modern life, your cue could be a short breath, a phrase, or a physical object. A writer named Naomi kept a small stone on her desk. Whenever she felt overwhelmed, she touched the stone for a moment. The sensation reminded her to return to the present. Her thoughts reorganized, and she regained direction. A fifth teaching is releasing the expectation of perfect control. Many lose focus because they expect the mind to behave like a machine. They become frustrated when it drifts. This frustration deepens the problem. When you release the expectation of perfect control, you regain peace. A doctor named Sora practiced this during long shifts. When her mind wandered, she gently brought it back without judgment. Her performance improved because she no longer fought against her own nature. A final teaching is honoring transitions. The samurai understood that clarity fades at the edges of moments. Before moving from one task to another, they paused, breathed, and reset. In modern life, transitions happen constantly. A teacher named Daiichi applied this by pausing for 5 seconds before entering his classroom. He exhaled fully, cleared the noise in his mind, and stepped in with intention. His presence became stronger, and his students felt his calm authority. These teachings all flow from the same principle. The mind grows sharp when unnecessary tension falls away. Focus is not about tightening. It is about returning. The hidden ritual of Arashi is one form of return. Modern practices can mirror the same purpose. When you apply these ideas, you begin to feel a shift within yourself. Your actions carry more intention. Your thoughts no longer collide. Your energy moves in one direction. You start to sense your own center. The world around you loses some of its pressure because your attention becomes steady and independent. The transformation does not arrive at once. It grows gradually through repeated practice. Each time you guide your mind back, you strengthen your inner stability. You develop a quiet confidence that stays with you during challenges. You stop reacting to everything, only when needed. The samurai understood that clarity is a form of power, not a loud power, but a deep one. A power that allows a person to move with precision. A power that protects them from internal chaos. When you learn to restore your focus quickly, you gain control of your life. You stop wasting energy. You stop drifting. You begin to live with purpose. The ritual of Arashi may seem simple, but its simplicity is what makes it effective. A warm cloth to calm the senses. A scent to anchor the breath. Cold ground to reconnect the body. Silence to steady the mind. Anyone can create a similar moment in their own world. A short pause, a sensory cue, a breath that resets. This is the modern version of the return. As you walk through your own life, remember the lesson that guided warriors through storms and uncertainty. Your focus lives within you. It waits beneath the noise. When you learn to remove the noise, your true clarity rises. You can shape your identity around this principle. You can become someone who returns to center quickly. Someone who moves through pressure with calm strength. Someone whose mind remains clear even when the world becomes loud. This identity is not reserved for monks or warriors. It belongs to anyone who practices intention. Let this moment mark the beginning of your shift. Let your attention gather itself. Let your mind become sharp again. A steady mind sees the path. A clear mind walks it.